Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 79. Regaining Lost Ground. Hung Jun looked towards the Dian Pagoda in the distance, only to see Chang'an under the moonlight. A gentle spring breeze blew, and the peach blossoms of late spring drifted by. There were thousands of families and tens of thousands of tiles, and row upon row, they reflected the light of the moon. From the distance came the sound of a flute, immersed in the wind. Li Jinglong hugged Hung Jun from behind, and Hung Jun's entire body stiffened. He didn't dare to move randomly. Li Jinglong spoke quietly into his ear, "You don't like me." "No, no," Hung Jun's heart began to thump violently once more. He turned to look at Li Jinglong, meeting his warm yet earnest gaze, and at that, his heart jolted. Li Jinglong closed his eyes and leaned forward, once again capturing Hung Jun's lips. It was only in that instant that Hung Jun truly understood the feeling of kissing another. It was as if countless flowers across the entirety of Chang'an blossomed at once, the world brimming with vigor. After a long time, their lips parted. Li Jinglong's gaze had a trace of mirth, while Hung Jun breathed deeply, finally calming down. There was a feeling of desire within his heart that had flared to life, and he turned in Li Jinglong's lap, coming face to face with him. Closing his eyes, he turned his head and kissed him back. This response caused Li Jinglong's breaths to come harsh and fast, and it awakened the emotions within him that were difficult to contain. It was as if thousands of houses had collapsed in that moment of shaking, and love billowed towards him, toppling mountains and leveling seas. The two of them both grew aroused from that kissing, and when they separated again, Hung Jun's face was red to his ears, and he hurried to turn and move aside. Li Jinglong, however, didn't try to duck away at all, watching Hung Jun and smiling. Hung Jun liked his smile the best, only because every time Li Jinglong smiled, he was like a carefree, unburdened, handsome young man. What wisdom, what stratagems, what shrewdness, it all disappeared without a trace with his handsome visage. When he thought of that, Hung Jun's expression actually grew a little angry. "Hung Jun, why did you? I didn't want to lose you." Li Jinglong held Hung Jun's hand and lowered his head, intimately rubbing the bridges of their noses together as he explained. "Sorry, Hung Jun, what I said today has really caused you great distress. But only by directly facing what you fear can we gain the chance to win against it." "You're right," Hung Jun replied quietly. "This is the truth, and I must face it. Perhaps this is the fate that has been predestined in my life." Li Jinglong's eyebrows raised slightly, and he smiled, relieved, at him. "Li Jinglong, I'll be with you, I'll be together with you." In this moment, Hung Jun suddenly felt as if their minds were linked, and he understood what Li Jinglong was saying. To break free of all of this, the only way was to first face himself directly, and face this destiny. And when Li Jinglong said that sentence, he too was making a promise: no matter how far they went, or where they went to, he would always keep watch by his side. "But I'm not asking about this," Hung Jun said, a little embarrassed. "Why do you like me, I'm saying? Why do you like me?" Li Jinglong asked in response. Hung Jun was stumped by this question, because it was really too awkward. In the coming days, he would often think of these words. He had actually discussed such silly things with Li Jinglong. Every time he thought of it, he would always end up wishing that he could dig a hole and bury himself in it. But this was the first time in his life. Actually, ever since he had been together with Li Jinglong, he had experienced almost all of the firsts of his life. The him of this moment did not know that the minds of people in this red dust changed easily, even more quickly than the spring breeze and floating clouds. He also did not know that there were too many things in this world that made no sense, like love. He actually asked Li Jinglong that in complete seriousness, and Li Jinglong responded to him equally seriously. "I don't know," Hung Jun replied in the end, a little desolately, after mulling it over for a while. "I also don't know," Li Jinglong replied truthfully. Hung Jun couldn't resist laughing at that, and Li Jinglong couldn't resist wanting to kiss him. Hung Jun felt a nagging discomfort, he was too nervous, and he kept wanting to find something to say. When did you? I mean, when did you begin to like me? Hung Jun asked once more. Li Jinglong held back a smile, and he pretended to think for a long time, before saying, I have to think about that one. Hung Jun thought of that scene on that snowy night in Liangzhou, when Li Jinglong had come racing after him and tore open his robe. With that, he carefully undid Li Jinglong's inner robe, revealing his sturdy chest. Li Jinglong lowered his head to look, and he understood. I remember now, Li Jinglong said at that. When you were squeezing my milk. When Hung Jun heard these words, he erupted into a bout of loud laughter. Li Jinglong laughed as he grabbed his wrist, lowering his head and forcefully kissing him. Hung Jun only felt that this was very weird, and he hurried to push aside his head, saying, I don't want to anymore. Then let's go back and keep kissing. Suddenly, Hung Jun widened his eyes and whipped his head around. The two of them both stopped in their tracks. At that moment, dark clouds covered the moon, and a gust of black chi coiled towards them from the distant mountains. It circled around the perimeter, before crashing over the entirety of Chang'an city like a wave. For a brief moment, all of the lights in the houses in Chang'an dimmed, and only in that moment, all of the wind chimes on the Dian pagoda tinkled sweetly on their own. There seemed to be some artifact in the tower that gave off a gentle glow, and it enveloped the tower. That black chi left as fast as it came. It rushed soundlessly towards the northeast, disappearing just like that. What was that? Hung Jun thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. Li Jinglong's brows were deeply furrowed as he replied, that should have been Xiaoyu returning, or, you could say, it's always been here, but it's currently preparing to deal with us. His grip on Hung Jun tightened a little, and the two of them looked towards the direction where the black chi had disappeared. It was impossible to determine at that time where the black chi had disappeared to. Perhaps it was within Xinqing Palace, or perhaps it was in Daming Palace, even further in the distance. Hung Jun said, I can draw the devil chi over. No matter what, you must not, Li Jinglong said. Even if this Chang'an. Li Jinglong only got halfway through his sentence before he stopped speaking, watching Hung Jun uneasily. Hung Jun didn't understand why and stared back at him. Trust me, trust that I can both protect you and get rid of Xiaoyu, Li Jinglong said. To live in this world, we must always make a choice, that's true, but I will do my best to let us avoid having to make decisions and trade-offs. Hung Jun did not yet understand the meaning in his words, nor did he understand what kind of resolve Li Jinglong had in this moment. He merely smiled and said, okay. In the deepest part of Daming Palace, the 7th level of the underground palace. A black array billowed with flames as black chi gathered up from all around, rushing like a torrential waterfall into it. In the eye of the array, it was as if countless resentful souls had been trapped. The devil chi gathered into the face of a fox, twisted into a grimace, a sharp-toothed fish head dashing this way and that, the body of the jade Pipa Yao and her pained cries, the black chi that exploded around the snow woman and the plague god. With the ancient incantation of this divine land, I summon thee. With this immortal life and suffering, leave behind the earthly and divine veins, and be reborn by the devil chi. Take Mara as our master, and you shall be imprisoned for the rest of your life. The azure-robed man slowly walked down the stairs, his hand shining with purple-black light. He chanted the incantation as he slowly approached the array. The master of the heart lamp, the gilded image of Akela, the man murmured, his face to the array and his back to the entrance of the underground palace. Direnja, you have really chosen the wrong person. Mt. Li, Hwaking Palace. In the depths of the night, the Hwaking pool was silent beyond compare, and several soldiers hugged their halberds to themselves as they sat in the corridor, dozing off. The waters of Hwaking pool shimmered with light, reflecting the moon in the sky, before suddenly shining with silver light. What's that? A soldier discovered that the walking pool had actually turned into a mirror, and the silver light immediately glowed brightly. There was a when, and out rushed a blue-black monster. The waters of the pool erupted, rose up, and turned into the surface of a circular lake almost a li in circumference. The soldiers let out loud shouts and scattered, only to see that in a short moment, a humongous, odd fish leapt out of the lake, spreading open its 6 fins and flying through the air. It then turned gracefully and turned into a human figure clad in all black. In the blink of an eye, a dripping wet, huge, golden-green bird rushed out of the pool as well and shook off the water on its body. The waters of the spring instantly turned into countless small droplets, scattering into the depths of the quiet night. That massive azure bird also turned into a young man, his upper body bare, and he and the black-robed man flew together into the distance. After the 2 men flew away, the waters of the walking pool collapsed down with the Huala returning to the pool. The soldiers looked at each other in consternation, fear lingering in their hearts. At the top of walking palace, Yuan Kun sat with one leg draped over, hooked around the eaves of the roof, his eyes covered by a black strip of cloth. Qing Xiang stood at the top of the palace, looking towards Daming Palace in the distance. The most important thing now is to find the Mara that Xiaoyu has created, Qing Xiang said. There's no more time, Yuan Kun murmured. I have seen countless causes and effects, and they all converge towards a single future. In 1 year, the Central Plains will become hell on earth. Qing Xiang asked solemnly, look towards the east. Yuan Kun replied earnestly, there's not enough time, Qing Xiang. Instead of tracking down the source of the devil Qi, it would be better to summon all the remaining Yao tribes. The Ghost King has already awakened, but Yu Zayun is still fast asleep. Adding to that you and me, the Kun, Peng, Fox, and Ghost may perhaps, in 1 year, be able to activate the 10,000 Yao array, offer up the heart lamp as sacrifice, and with the 6 weapons of Akala, be able to fight a battle with Xiaoyu and Mara. Qing Xiang replied darkly, the Yao tribes have been without a king for a long time. With only you and me, it will be difficult to command 10,000 Yao. I will go to Luoyang, while you stay here in Chang'an. We still have Chongming. Yuan Kun sighed and persuaded him, this is the will of the heavens, what purpose is there to take such an unwise action? Before he even finished talking, Qing Xiang spread his wings and flew towards the vast lands of the east. At the 4th gang, Li Jinglong gently pushed open the door, and the 2 of them tiptoed back into the exorcism department. Barefoot, Hung Jun walked back to his room without making a sound. Li Jinglong wanted to follow, but Hung Jun was still a little at a loss for what to do now that their relationship had changed. When they passed through the yard, Li Jinglong reached out and picked a peach blossom branch, handing it to Hung Jun. Hung Jun took it and began to poke him with it, but Li Jinglong grabbed at his wrist with a stern expression. Hung Jun dodged away and came to the outside of his room, and he gently pushed Li Jinglong, letting him go back to his own room. Li Jinglong, however, was not resigned to doing so, wanting to squeeze into the room with Hung Jun. An expression of entreaty appeared in Hung Jun's eyes as he jabbed the branch at him, and in the end, Li Jinglong could only retreat. Just as Hung Jun was about to shut the door, Li Jinglong waved his hand at him, gesturing for him to come over. With one hand, he pried away the peach blossoms within Hung Jun's fingers, and with the other, he grabbed his nape and kissed him on the lips. Hung Jun's entire face was bright red. Afraid of waking their companions, he didn't let Li Jinglong kiss him again. He hurriedly ducked into the room, shutting Li Jinglong outside. Only after standing there for a while longer did Li Jinglong turn and return to his own room. Hung Jun didn't light any lamps, and he collapsed backwards on the bed, his heart beating wildly. Everything that had happened tonight had happened so suddenly, just like an unrealistic dream. Even now, he still couldn't believe it. He used the back of his hand to press against his lips, recalling the warmth of Li Jinglong's body and his broad chest, that burning yet completely unreserved kiss, that caused him such incomparable intoxication. Many kinds of complicated emotions combined into one, and it seemed as if that was close at hand, but he also didn't dare to get too close. He was afraid that like a moth to the flame, he would be burned to ashes by that blazing heart lamp. What was Li Jinglong doing? Hung Jun hugged the blankets to him as he got up. They had just parted, yet Hung Jun couldn't resist starting to think about him. Why did I shoo him away just now? At this moment, he felt that he had a lot of words that he wanted to say to Li Jinglong. Li Jinglong returned to his room, closed the door, and let out a long breath. He stood there for a while, looking as if he had lost his very soul, before he went digging around and pulled out a vase. He bent over and soundlessly passed through the long corridor, sticking the peach blossoms into the vase and placing it outside Hung Jun's door. After a moment's thought, he was afraid that Hung Jun would knock into it when he opened the door after waking, so he took the peach blossoms back with him. He toyed with the peach blossom, and he couldn't resist chuckling as he went back to his room and laid down on the bed, raising his gaze to look at the peach blossoms in his hand, which he twirled around idly. Hung Jun hugged the blankets, lying on his side, in the exact same position that he had hugged Li Jinglong every night that they had been away. However, no matter what, he could not fall asleep. He felt stifled in his chest, and he was so nervous that his stomach churned and his head spun. Hugging those blankets, he rolled over, and after a while, rolled back. At the fourth gang, Li Jinglong pulled open the door, and with his upper body bare, he ladled a ladleful of water from the well and poured it over his back. At the fifth gang, Li Jinglong came out again, got another ladleful of water, and poured it over his back. In the early morning, the white fog suffused the air. All of the people in the exorcism department were sleeping, and only Hung Jun had his eyes open. He hadn't slept for the whole night, instead revisiting the same topic again and again, which were the memories of when the two of them were together. Li Jinglong changed his robes, exited the exorcism department, and walked away. In the 16 years of Hung Jun's life, this was the first time that he had been so exhausted. Before, he had been able to fall asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow, but today, even when the sunlight shone in hazily, he still couldn't fall asleep. After who knows how long, he was in a daze, floating between sleep and wakefulness when he heard Lu Su and Amorigin talking in the yard. Finally, with that, he clambered to his feet, bleary-eyed. Ashinakayan, good morning, Zenchi's madam. Amorigin, good morning, madam. Hung Jun. Atai, madam, Zenchi bought you cherry beluga. Lu Su had one hand pressed to his forehead, and he couldn't stop chuckling from his place in front of the table. The Carpio wrung its hands as it stood outside the door, like a fly that didn't know what it had done wrong. It said, Hung Jun. Don't call me madam. Hung Jun said, on the verge of losing it. The Carpio watched Hung Jun pitifully. When Hung Jun saw that by the edge of the well, there was the bowl that he used to wash up, and hot water had also been boiled for him, he said, Zhao Zilong is still the best. Second eldest boiled it for you, the Carpio replied falteringly. Hung Jun. Can I eat one, madam? Even Lu Su couldn't really hold out. There were only 2 cherry beluga on the table, but they were really too tempting, and there was also tea. As Hung Jun brushed his teeth, he said expressionlessly, Lu Su, I'm going to beat you up. But before I do, you can eat one first. Lu Su cheered, but Amorigin said, however much you want to eat, I'll go buy it for you. Aren't you out of money? Hung Jun asked the Carpio, where's Zenchi? The Carpio told Hung Jun that Li Jinglong had left early in the morning after taking a case. After finishing, the Carpio then asked, Hung Jun, you and him. Everyone had heard Li Jinglong's confession yesterday. Hung Jun could only grit his teeth and reply, N. It was as if the Carpio had been hit by lightning. N. The carpiao was about to burst into tears, yet it had nowhere to go, so it could wiggle its tail and leap with a putong into the pond, sinking into it. Zhao Zilong. Hung Jun called. Come out, I feel like we need to chat. The carpiao peeped its head out, and Hung Jun squatted by the side of the pond, eating the cherry beluga. He fed the crumbs that fell off to it, and the carpiao opened its fish mouth and ate them. Why exactly do you dislike Zhenji so much? Hung Jun asked. The carpiao said, his sword of wisdom is used to kill you. That's your inescapable doom. Hung Jun watched the carpiao, before feeding it a cherry. The carpiao ate it and spat the pit out with a pop. I know, Hung Jun said quietly. But I like him. When Hung Jun said these words, he saw Lu Su standing under the corridor, a smile in his eyes. Their gazes met. Lu Su was right, Hung Jun continued. Jinglong also was right, people always have to face themselves directly. The carpiao. Just like how I'm Mara, and you are a carp, Hung Jun continued. What the future will look like, no one can say for sure, but at least for now, I'm very happy. And saying this, Hung Jun stroked the carpiao's head, before adding, Dad often said that it's very hard to be a Yaoguai, because after cultivating for 100 years, you have to undergo tribulations both large and small. For you to cultivate into a dragon, you will have thousands upon thousands of inescapable trials waiting ahead of you. Zhenji said that he likes me, and he wants to stay with me through my heavenly tribulations. We will either both be ground to dust, or we will both live together. Scroll to 9-colored deer End chapter.
Legend of Exorcism. Scroll 3, Mara. Chapter 80. Increasing the severity of a crime. In the third month, in late spring, Chang'an was filled with lanterns, and a layer of gauze-like fog seeped through the entire city. A light, continuous rain had begun to fall after noon, and the city was filled with the color of freshly washed willows, showing a vivid, lively green. The various flowers were dotted with rainwater, and petals fell and covered the ground. Eaves dripped with water, which pitter-pattered, and humidity rolled into Xingqing Palace. Imperial consort Yang was currently lying on a soft lounger, lost in her thoughts. Yang Qiuzhong, half his body soaked by rain, sat to one side, using a silk handkerchief to wipe off a water clock gilded in gold. On that water clock was carved a golden dragon as vivid as life, and it held 2 sealed glass cups, which were filled with grey sand. Upon closer inspection, however, that grey sand was made from a mixture of black and white sand. Chuan Tong was always one of the richest people in the world, yet who expected him, in the end, to die of starvation in the streets? Shang Yang was known throughout his life for his numerous accomplishments, yet he could not escape the outcome of being dismembered by 5 horses. Stop talking, Yang Qiuzhong frowned, putting down the handkerchief to look at Yang Yehuan. Is this exciting to you? I'm nervous, Yang Yehuan sighed out. Gag, you don't know how they speak of us outside. They're all saying that the Yang family are Yaoguai. Yang Qiuzhong's gaze was wrathful, yet Yang Yehuan was very anxious. How could this be? How? What Li Jinglong said is no more than a pack of lies that turn right into wrong and confuse black and white. Yang Qiuzhong raged. If you are not able to let this matter go, then that is our greatest issue. How am I supposed to let it go? Yang Yehuan mourned. After that night, I often dream of eldest sister. Her face was covered with blood, and now and then she would tell me to hurry and seek revenge for her. I originally thought that all of this was over, and if I could forget it, then I would, but then His Majesty said that Mara would descend to this earth in the times of the Great Tang. Mara. Yang Qiuzhong had been studying that golden dragon water clock, and he began to chuckle mockingly. Imperial consort Yang let out a faint exhale. Yang Qiuzhong shook out the silk handkerchief, while Yang Yehuan continued quietly, Gag, no matter how majestic or grand a building is, there will always come a day when it topples. A big tree attracts great winds. We must begin to prepare early. This talk of ghosts and gods, Yang Qiuzhong said, are nothing more than rumors used by the ignorant masses to deceive both themselves and others. If my prediction is correct, that Li Jinglong created such a large impetus only because he's been pinned under the thumb of others for too long, and he wants to come up for a breath of air, nothing more. Yang Yahuan looked confusedly at Yang Qiuzhong, and she furrowed her brows. What breath of air? Yang Qiuzhong replied casually, how many years has it been since the great Tang has had a Qiuashi? Once Li Heng takes the throne, he will of course have his own plans. What Mara, what inauspiciousness, what disasters! Other than using them against us, what other use do they have? Yang Yahuan's flower-like face lost its color. Yang Qiuzhong finished wiping that gilded water clock, and picked up a crow-black box and opened it solemnly. Setting it down carefully, he continued, your adopted son should be coming soon. Find an appropriate time and drive Li Jinglong himself off Ba. Yang Yahuan rose uneasily. Yang Qiuzhong searched his thoughts for a moment, before he then looked towards the rainwater outside the palace. I heard Geshu Han deliver a secret message. A few months ago, when they lingered in Liangzhou, they caught a Yaogwai then. That time, they had to leave in a rush, so they didn't take the Yaogwai with them. After Geshu Han interrogated it, he learned of a matter. By Li Jinglong's side, there is a Yao in hiding. Guess who it is? It's that young man called Kong Hung Jun. What? Yang Yahuan was shocked. Impossible. Back then, the one who attended to me when I was ill was Dr. Kong, his father. Yang Qiuzhong lifted the wooden box into his arms, and he said slowly, you can choose to believe it or not. As long as he is a Yao, there will come a day when he reveals his true form. Li Jinglong harbors ulterior motives, yet he hasn't stopped to think, with how the world is at peace and flourishing today, when have there ever been devils in the past dynasties and centuries? Yang Yahuan breathed slowly. It was only after he became the Zenshi of the exorcism department that these strange tales came, one after the other. As of today, they sound shocking to the ear, hey, but Mara is nothing more than a pretense that he and Li Heng have worked together to create. This kind of odd tale about ghosts and monsters can only be used to placate children or deceive the old and decrepit. Yang Yahuan's face lost all color from the shock, and she raged, stop talking. Yang Qiuzhong chuckled coldly. You may be able to trick him, but you are unable to trick me. Think, if one day, it comes flooding out that the exorcism department is the reason for all of these Yao and devils wreaking havoc, then how will that group of people be dealt with? You really think that your eldest sister was a Yaogwai? Yang Yahuan said uneasily, this. Yang Qiuzhong leaned forward a little, lowered his voice, and said, the way I see it, perhaps not, the exorcism department is filled with some wandering tricksters who use illusions to deceive, but who could have imagined that these illusions would actually be able to capture His Majesty's worries as well? Yang Yahuan couldn't help the chills that ran up her spine. As for His Majesty's side, that responsibility falls to you now. The exorcism department can no longer be kept around, otherwise this matter will only grow in size with no apparent end. Yang Yahuan watched Yang Qiuzhong dumbly, because with only a few sentences, Yang Qiuzhong had touched upon the crux of the matter. He met Yang Yahuan's gaze for a moment, before nodding and leaving. There was only Yang Yahuan left, staring out at the thin spring rain in a daze. In the exorcism department, Mo Rijin and Ashinakayang had each gone off to investigate their own cases. A Tai turned to Hung Jun and Lu Su and asked, want to go to the western market to drink? Hung Jun and Lu Su both waved their hands, and A Tai went off to go see to Rainduct. Li Jinglong had been gone for a long time now, but he still had yet to come back. The two of them then began to drink tea, watching the rain beyond the eaves. Where exactly did he go? Hung Jun muttered. Lu Su replied, yesterday night, Yaogwai appeared in the Huaking Palace on Mt. Li, so he left early in the morning to go investigate. At first, Hung Jun was still a little hesitant. He was afraid that everyone would ask him, "How did you end up liking Zhenqi? What happened last night? Are you two together after this?" and such words, but he hadn't expected that everyone would act as if they had seen nothing strange. After tossing out a few teasing sentences at first, they had all begun to naturally treat Hung Jun and Li Jinglong as a pair. Origin. "I'm not bringing up Li Jinglong," Lu Su replied, his face expressionless, "so you'd better not bring him up either." Hung Jun. Hung Jun could only nod, and the two of them came to a tacit agreement. Lu Su searched his thoughts for a moment, but just as he was about to ask after something else, someone shouted from outside the door, "Li Zhenqi! Is Li Zhenqi here?" Hung Jun went to let the person in, but it turned out to be an aide from the Crown Prince, who personally handed over an imperial edict. Hung Jun said, "Zhenqi has gone out to investigate a case." "Then you receive it first, BA," the aide said. "This is an edict that His Majesty and the Eastern Palace have issued, appointing Li Zhenqi as the Marquis of Yadan." Yadan had always been a barren land, just a stretch of yellow sand, under which was filled with the burial grounds of the corpse ghosts that fell in battle. It was the first time that a marquis had ever been appointed for Yadan. That aide continued, "There is also an edict of jurisdiction and the seal of a marquis, which have all been brought over. The order to appoint the marquis has already been sent all the way along to Hexi, but because no one resides in Yadan, all that needs to be done is for Jiuzhou at the Yumen Pass to be informed." "Lu Su, what does that mean?" "Hung Jun, I don't get it." The only two people left in the exorcism department were wholly untouched by the mortal world. The two of them looked askance at each other for a while, and neither of them thanked the emperor for his grace. The assistant said helplessly, "Are there no adults here?" "I'm an adult," Hung Jun said angrily. "I'm already 17. How am I not an adult?" "I'm 18, Lu Su responded. "He's my GE. The assistant. It was often rumored that the exorcism department was filled with weird people, and upon seeing this today, this was within his expectations. The aide didn't have the time to ask why a 17-year-old could be an 18-year-old's older brother, and he just wanted to be done with this matter and leave as quickly as he could. He pulled out another letter and said, "This is a letter from Hexi. Take it first, then bring the seal here." Hung Jun didn't have a seal, so finally he signed and put his fingerprint on it. That aide then opened his umbrella and went back to report on having successfully completed his task. Upon seeing that the name written on the letter was Hung Jun's, Lu Su asked, "It's for you." Hung Jun opened the letter and said, "My uncle." As he read, he found that the letter spoke of what had happened after they parted. After leaving hurriedly that day with no explanation, it was self-explanatory that Jiuzhou had sent a letter, but it seemed as if there had already been an exchange of letters prior to this. He figured that it had been Li Jinglong who had written a letter to apologize for his actions, using Hung Jun's name to do so. The general gist of Jiuzhou's letter was that after this farewell, who knows how long it'd be before they saw each other again, so he had to come visit Yumen Pass often when it wasn't cold and he had the time. Hung Jun then said to Lu Su, "Uncle is my only relative." Lu Su nodded and said, "Mortals are not like us." Hung Jun was suddenly reminded by Lu Su's words, and he thought of a problem. He himself was a half-Yao, which was to say, he could probably live for a long time. But Li Jinglong, Lu Su and the rest were all mortals, what was he supposed to do? Lu Su seemed to know what he was thinking, so he pulled out another letter from the bundle, asking, "And whose is this?" "This is, the Ghost King." Hung Jun looked at that silk parchment, inside of which contained well-formed, neat rows of seal script. There seemed to be almost no words he recognized, but just as he was about to go dig out a book to compare against, someone shouted outside, "Li Zhenqi! Zhenqi!" Hung Jun thought that that aide from the Eastern Palace had left and returned again, but when he opened the door again, he found it was the chief of the Judiciary Department, Huang Yang, with the secretary. Where's Zhenqi? Huang Yang asked, his face filled with worry. Hung Jun could only explain once more, while Lu Su peeked his head out from behind Hung Jun. Knowing that this fellow was Li Jinglong's direct superior, Hung Jun invited him in for tea, but Huang Yang was as anxious as if a fire was burning under him, and he asked, "Is Mo Rijin out as well? When will they return?" "I don't know." Hung Jun and Lu Su watched Huang Yang expressionlessly. "Kong Hung Jun, aren't there any adults here?" Huang Yang asked, looking all around him. "There aren't." Lu Su and Hung Jun said at the same time. "We are all silly children," Lu Su added. "That's right," Hung Jun explained to Huang Yang. "When we were born, our heads got caught in a door, so they're not very easy to use. We can't investigate cases, nor can we capture Yao. We can only help out here once in a while, helping ourselves to easy meals while we wait for death. If there's anything, make sure to never tell us," Lu Su said. "Hung Jun, we're not curious at all. You should wait here for Zhenqi to come back." Huang Yang understood the mockery in their words, and he hurried to say, "That wasn't my meaning. The two of you, please come with me." "Oh, what's this? The Marquis of Yadan? Now we should start calling him my Lord Marquis." "Wait, that's not right, how come he was appointed to Yadan?" Huang Yang had the secretary wait outside while he himself went into the hall. Upon seeing the letter of appointment for Li Jinglong, for a while he couldn't keep up with the developments. Hung Jun and Lu Su merely stood there, shoulder to shoulder, watching him with their heads tilted to one side. "You too." Huang Yang had been running so much that his entire back was covered with sweat. "I'm going to speak frankly. Strange matters have occurred, so please bear with me." Hung Jun often went to the Judiciary Department with Li Jinglong, so Huang Yang recognized him, but most of the time, he had merely treated him as Li Jinglong's companion. Now that matters had grown so large, Huang Yang steadied his breathing and said, "To tell you the truth, something big happened last night in the Imperial Mausoleum. 17th day of the 3rd month, 13th year of the Tianbao era. Case, ghosts terrorizing the Zhao Mausoleum. Difficulty, herringbone level. Location, the tomb of Emperor Taizong in the Zhao Mausoleum, on Mt. Jigu. Involved persons, unknown. Case details, on the 13th night of the 3rd month, angry ghosts exacted their revenge on the living outside the tomb of Emperor Taizong in the Zhao Mausoleum of Mt. Jigu, and the blood of the night patrol guards from the Guo village splattered the scene of the crime. 4 people died, and 1 went mad. The madman finally escaped during the day, and he ran all the way into the depths of the Zhao Mausoleum. Assistant Minister Cheng Xiao of the Judiciary Department, and a foot soldier of the local magistrate's office went into the Zhao Mausoleum to investigate, but have not left. Remuneration, none, for now. Additional remarks, His Majesty must not learn of this, or any other person for that matter, or our lives will be lost. Hung Jun, there are ghosts wreaking havoc? Why didn't you come earlier to say so? Huang Yang smiled bitterly. I handed this case over once before, but it got stuck here in the exorcism department and was not acted on for a long time. This matter is one of vital importance, since it involves the imperial mausoleum of Emperor Taizong. Everyone's heads are going to roll. Lu Su and Hung Jun exchanged glances. Hung Jun said decisively, it's best we wait for Zhenqi to return ba. The imperial family's ancestral grave was not a place that Hung Jun dared to go on a whim. Don't. Huang Yang said, his expression changing. Kong Hung Jun, no matter what, you exorcists of the exorcism department must take a trip there today. This case has been suppressed for so long that it can't be suppressed anymore. If you wait any longer, the mausoleum guards will come make a fuss in the judiciary department, and the new guards won't dare to do their duty correctly. They'll come to the judiciary department to cause a ruckus, and Lian Hao has a good relationship with the Yang family. If His Majesty learns of this, and he flies into a great rage, that will, didn't you all just capture some corpse ghost that fell in battle or something like that? Hung Jun and Liu Su exchanged glances. Huang Yang continued, it's very serious, very serious. He then moved a little closer and said quietly, this matter involves the ruling family's ancestral mausoleum, and if someone with other intentions was to find out and write a large number of documents, rousing Chancellor Yang's suspicions that someone is purposely obfuscating things. Hung Jun. Liu Su. Huang Yang said anxiously, if there so happen to be rumors that this is the work of the heroic spirit of Emperor Taizong, admonishing His Majesty, you two don't understand. Hung Jun suddenly was enlightened, and he understood then. He explained to Liu Su, Huang Daren is saying that it's the spirit of the emperor's ancestor taking form, cursing him out for neglecting the affairs of the state. I didn't say that. Huang Yang immediately protested. I'm saying, someone else might have other intentions in mind and come up with such a rumor. Ayo, you two little masters, when exactly will your family's people in charge come back? Huang Yang was on the verge of tears. Hung Jun said, be patient, we'll go right away. Naturally, Liu Su agreed. Outside, the rain had already stopped, but not a single person of the exorcism department had returned. It was only after a series of urging and orders on Huang Yang's part that he finally left. Then, Hung Jun left a note, dragged out the car Piao, who was currently in its spring days, and put it on his back. He and Liu Su left together. The sky showed that it was just past noon, but just as Liu Su was about to stumble out of the city, Hung Jun brought up the idea that they should go find a Tai first. They arrived at Turandik's wine shop in the middle of the city, which had been coincidentally opened just across the street from that carp leaping over the dragon gate that Hung Jun liked the most. This large wine shop had been decorated splendidly on the outside, and there were many brocade hangings inside as well. Since it was afternoon, there was not a single customer to be seen inside the wine shop. A Tai was holding a fly swatter, swatting the flies inside. How much money did this cost? Liu Su asked, raising his head to look at that 2-story tall wine shop. Can you recover what you invested? Hung Jun knew a little bit about money as well. Upon seeing that the two of them had come, Turandik said, today the lady boss is happy, so all drinks are free. A Tai raised the fly swatter and waved it towards the two of them in greeting. Hung Jun hurried to decline the offer, and informed A Tai that he and Liu Su were going to investigate a case. Let's go together ba. A Tai hurried to say. Hung Jun glanced at Turandik, afraid that she'd get angry, so he hurried to say, you stay here and keep say as I company ba. But Turandik said, let him go with you guys. Liu Su replied, we'll leave and come back quickly, it'll only take us a shishan to go there and back. It'll be slower if we take you. A Tai could only let it go, and he also told the two of them to be careful. After they left the city, in a secluded spot, Liu Su turned and transformed into the white deer, and Hung Jun slung a leg across its back. Yo, your antlers! Hung Jun said curiously. The white deer's horns had actually grown out a little, and the wounds where Hung Jun had once cut them off had already healed. They looked like little dragon horns. They'll slowly grow back to what they were, the white deer replied. Hold on tight. Right after that, the white deer began to trot, then it picked up its speed. Like it was treading on clouds, it left the military road behind, stepping into the barren wilderness. Its hooves walked on the wind, and with a shua it sped past glossy green fields of wheat, taking Hung Jun along as though flying across the grass. Seemingly as fast as lightning, it sped swiftly into the mountains. If he was riding a horse, he would have to circle around on the military road, and it would take at least half a day to go from Chang'an to Mt. Jigu. But the white deer's speed was as fast as flying, so they took a shortcut. In a short shishan, they arrived outside the Zhao Mausoleum as twilight had just fallen. But that fast speed consumed his stamina, because once Liu Su took human form again, he sat right down on the steps outside the Zhao mausoleum, panting for breath. You were almost flying, Hung Jun said. There's no need to be in such a rush. It's all right for short sprints, Lu Su panted. But I really can't run like this for long distances. That big wolf, however, does have good stamina, I just don't know where he went off to. The Zhao mausoleum was arrayed from east to west, built along the mountains and sunk in them like a huge palace, and inside were many tombs of the great officials. Mt. Jigu had originally been cold and quiet. There were once guards for the tombs, but after this incident had occurred, the guards had all temporarily retreated to the Guo family village at the foot of the mountains. At twilight, this place seemed even more oddly silent. A cold wind blew past, and the bushes on the mountains rustled. Hung Jun felt a dim wave of yin energy, and even if it was the emperor's mausoleum, that didn't change the dark atmosphere. Hung Jun, are you afraid of ghosts? I'm all right. Lu Su couldn't help but feel a little scared as well. The two of them stood shoulder to shoulder under the archway to the entrance of the mausoleum. If Hung Jun was coming on his own, he would have been a little scared, and he might have woken the Carpiao on his back to bolster his courage, but with Lu Su there, it was much better. Because he hadn't used his artifacts or fought for a long while now, Hung Jun was a little lacking in his skill, so he opened up the pentacolor sacred light, the flying knives protruding from between his fingers. You don't have a weapon or an artifact. Hung Jun recalled that Lu Su had only used a shovel before. The big wolf said that he'd go get me one, Lu Su replied. Then you come with me. Hung Jun held the pentacolor sacred light in his left hand, his throwing knives in his right, as he stepped into the perimeter of the Zhao mausoleum. Lu Su, sure, I'll hide behind you. This was also the first time that Hung Jun was investigating a case on his own, and he was bringing along a complete novice, Lu Su. If it was Li Jinglong, he would more or less know the process, what to do first, what to do next, gather information and reports, check on the crime scene, but Hung Jun himself only half understood what he was doing, so he barged in blindly. He kept feeling that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Do you think it's a ghost? Lu Su asked. What do you think? Hung Jun had no idea what to do at all, so the two of them circled around outside of the Zhao mausoleum. Lu Su said, perhaps it's a Yao. Hung Jun nodded to indicate that he agreed. Lu Su had been a scout before, and though he only had 1 Hun and 1 Po at the time, he often brought letters back and forth, so he had seen investigations happen before. Where is the area where the people died? Hung Jun murmured. The sun was almost setting when the two of them came to the entrance of the Zhao mausoleum. There was another set of stairs at the bottom, but there were no odd sounds, only gusts of cold wind. Outside the mausoleum was a line of tile roof houses, which were probably places where people used to live. The smell from within the houses was very pungent. Blood, Lu Su said. Hung Jun had also smelled it, so he reached out a foot and kicked open the door, only to see that the inside was filled with purple-black blood. The bloodstains were splattered everywhere, and they led out of the house, as if there was a corpse that had been dragged away. Here, Hung Jun said. Follow the bloodstains. End chapter.